Hey everyone, welcome back to another vlog review for this week's episode of Gundam GQuuuuuX. There's no excuse for me not being on camera today, besides the fact that I'm lazy and I looked at my green screen, didn't want to set it up. So that's pretty much it. You can call me a lot of things, but I'm honest. So right off the bat, to start this video off, I want to say I think episode 6 was actually really good, and there's basically no action in this episode at all, but there was character development and things have started to move, and we got a bunch of little glimpses at machinations behind the scenes between the key players and the factions. And I think that everything that was set up in this episode is really interesting, and I'm very excited to see where it all goes. So that's my general consensus on episode 6. I actually think it's probably the best episode of the series so far, and it's pretty much won me over on this show for now. Of course, things could go awry, things could get screwed up, but I think the future of Gundam GQuuuuuX is in a pretty bright place, at least for my tastes. So this episode starts off with some new information. We learn that if the Pomeranians beat the next team in the clan battle, they will be the #1 ranked clan and win the championship, and they'll take home a bunch of cash. Also, a new character named Lieutenant Barkov arrives and talks with Shalia Bull. She tells him that the Kikaroga is banned by the post-war treaty because it has a Psychomu installed, so whatever he's planning to do with it is incredibly risky and could really backfire. It's interesting to know that Psychomu units are banned by some sort of treaty. I don't know if that's been brought up in the past, because obviously the Red Gundam has a Psychomu and the GQuuuuuX has the Omega Psychomu, so those suits are prototypes and under wraps, so that makes sense, but I thought that was a really interesting piece of information they threw out there. I guess no one likes new types after they cause a psycho explosion. We learn from this Lieutenant Barkov that in 3 days, there's going to be a conference that not even Supreme Commander Giranzabi knows about, with the former chairman of a shipbuilding quote-unquote cartel called the One Naval Initiative and Shalia Xavier. Now, Halo fans out there, we know. You never trust anyone that works for Oni. It's bad news. They mention the fact that trouble is brewing between Giran and Shalia and their respective factions within Zeon, so I really think that the future of this show, we could be looking at some sort of Zeon civil war. It kind of seems like we're in a cold Zeon civil war right now, and things just really haven't sparked off. Oh, also, speaking of Halo, there's some music in this episode that uses a lot of drums and piano notes, and that actually really reminded me of Halo 3's soundtrack. So yeah, props to that, that was cool. We also catch up with Xavier, who's meeting with his contact again on the train, but this time he's being tailed by MPs, which aren't, they're not really doing a good job concealing the fact that they're feds. If this guy's following you on the train, you immediately know you're probably in deep shit. Xavier's being told that Shalia Bull might actually be planning on killing Shalia because he was formerly Giran's subordinate, and he might still be loyal. And probably the most important piece of info for this little meeting is that Xavier appears to be working directly for Shalia and put on the Sodon to keep an eye on Shalia Bull because she does not trust him. Machu goes to take food to Shuji, but she finds Nian is already there with him, and she kind of gets mad and leaves. We get some flashbacks to the conversation that they had at the end of the last episode, and we actually get to see what was said. I mean, their conversation that they had wasn't super in-depth. It was pretty much Machu telling Nian to shut the fuck up and asking her what she's actually doing. Machu is super pissed at Nian for piloting the Gundam and hanging out with Shuji, saying that that's her place. And I guess for a character like Machu, who feels like they have no control over their own life, it sucks to see the one thing you think is actually yours get taken away. And I do feel bad for Nian, who is a very lonely character and just seems to yearn for companionship, and her piloting the Gundam in the last episode was a very big step towards her actually being part of the team and having friends, and she thought she was doing a good thing, and now that's backfired. However, I also sympathize with Machu because it's hard to be a teenager that has no agency over their own life, and then you finally get something that you feel like you can control, and you realize you also don't have control over that. I think recently I said that I don't really like the main trio of this show. I think it was like episode 2 or 3 or 4, but this episode has really brought me around. I actually am starting to like Machu a lot more. I think I just identify with her, and like her wanting to get out of her hometown and go to Earth. It just took a bit for her to kind of ingratiate herself in my mind. Her personality's a little abrasive at the start, but I think once I started to think about how I felt as a teenager wanting to get out of, my own hometown and everything, and people not wanting me to and feeling trapped, I have started to understand where she's coming from. And also, like, you just got to realize she's an emotional teenager that doesn't think with logic. So at the end of the day, I am actually liking Machu's characterization at this point. We do get kind of a neat little interaction with Machu and her mom, where her mom texts her about a parent-teacher conference, and Machu's actually surprised that her mom's even planning on attending because her mom is usually so busy, and even thanks her for coming by. So it's nice to like kind of see her, connect with her mother. I do think it's very interesting that she has her mother in her phone by her first name, which I can imagine in Japan that would be considered pretty disrespectful. I thought that was just a neat little interesting peek at where her brain is. Now, Machu's mom actually arrives late to the parent-teacher meeting because she's a very busy person for like the Side 6 tax bureau or something. Like she has something to do with like the money of the government. So I'm sure that will come into play later. But she reveals when she gets there that she found out that Machu's been skipping her cram school at night. So that's kind of how Machu's been getting away with being gone for the clan battle, which is good. I was kind of wondering, like, wow, her mom must work a lot, but it makes sense that she's been skipping school and her mom thought she was somewhere else. We also get a mention of Machu's dad, I think, for the first time. He doesn't get name dropped, but they do mention him, so she isn't a single mom. I don't know if we'll see Machu's dad. I just assume he, like, is away on business at a different colony or on Earth or something. And when her mom starts really badgering her about that career test that she took, her teacher steps in and tries to kind of calmly ask her, like, what do you actually want to do? Have you actually thought about it? Has someone asked you this without yelling at you about it? Which can be very helpful. And she kind of replies, like, what she wants to do in the future is swim on the ocean on Earth. And when her mom is like, that's stupid, it's not a career, she leaves. So, I think Machu's in a place in her life where she just feels so restrained by being stuck on the colony where she grows up. It's hard to be forward thinking about a future when you feel like your life is stagnant. We get a scene where Nyan meets her courier contact, who very surprisingly actually like takes her out and buys her noodles, and then asks her, he has a daughter around her age, and he asks her, like, what should I get my daughter for my birthday? Don't tell me money. I know you're poor, basically. And then he asks her, what are you saving all your money for? I think this was a scene to lead into Nyan going back to her apartment, and we get to see like a bunch of papers on her wall. She has an application for essentially like citizenship at Side 6 up there with like a deadline marked out. And obviously Nan is a very lonely and stressed out character, and I kind of like that this episode has taken a little bit more time to humanize the side characters like Machu's mom and the courier contact guy. Although it does make me a little worried for everybody that I'm starting to like. All Nyan wishes for at the end of the day is companionship, and she ends her night wishing that she could have just eaten dinner with both Machu and Shuji as friends. We get a reveal that the Pomeranians characters are actually going to do something. I don't think I've actually really talked about them much. The main woman that runs the Pomeranians is named Anki, and she gets like this badass JoJo walk through a construction site and is wearing this fucking awesome coat. Her drip is on point in this episode. she goes to this construction site and ends up meeting with Shalia Bull. And we kind of get explained that like all this construction going on is to essentially build a bunch of bomb shelters because people are not hopeful for the future after the 1-year war, and they don't have any trust in Zeon or the colonial government. So that kind of sets the tone for how everyone feels. And I think it goes back into when I was talking about last episode, how everything kind of feels like a liminal space in this show. Like everyone's going about their day and there are people in the background having a good time, but there's like this overlaying air of dread over everything. Like you see those people having a good time in the background, Machu's mom at her job, people going about their day, but you can just kind of feel the tension that these people think that their lives could be uprooted at any second because of a war, because they just got over one. It's a really unique feeling for a show to have, and I think it's a hard feeling to get through in the tone and actually achieve, so I have to applaud this show for that. Anki pulls out this like old Nokia cell phone and tells Shalia Bull that she could fucking blow up the GQuuuuX if she wants, so I guess she's planted bombs in it. Also, great facial expression here. I love it when characters just go nuts. It's amazing. Shalia is like, oh, please don't blow up my Gundam. The combat data that the GQuuuuX has gained from clan battling is pretty much invaluable at this point, and he actually gives her a offer to reward them handsomely if they give the suit back after they win the championship, and she can also keep the money. Anki then accuses Shalia Bull of being the new owner of their rival team they're set to go up against, the 12 Olympians. Shalia then seems to pry some info about Machu from Anki. He lets slip that there's more than one person piloting the GQuuuuX. He says, tell me about the Gundam pilot. And she says, she's a naive young girl. And Shalia Bull says, both of them? And I don't know if he's referring to Machu and Nian both piloting the GQuuuuX or Shuji piloting the Red Gundam. I think it's Shuji at this point, though. When Machu later goes to the Pomeranians HQ, she overhears Anki and Nabu talk about claiming the bounty on the Red Gundam. They actually know where the Red Gundam is because, surprise, surprise, they followed they followed Machu to where it was. I said it a couple episodes ago, they actually did it. And the area that the Gundam is in, which I keep calling sewers, is actually an old decommissioned airlock. Anki plans to tell Zeon about the Red Gundam during the clan battle and then just leave so that they can take it once the battle's over. And she also plans on leaving the GQuuuuX behind because she feels like shit is about to go down and she does not want to be in the middle of it. When Machu walks in, Nabu tells her that they've got enough money to get out of debt. Thank you for being our little like child soldier and getting our company flush with cash, but you should probably go back to school and not do clan battle anymore. Which causes Machu to like kind of really freak out. She already had her agency, quote unquote, taken away by Nian piloting the Gundam, and now she's being told that the Gundam, like, sorry kid, like no more of that shit. And she decides she has to find a new place for both Shuji and the Red Gundam to hide. The Zeon crew of the Sodon are trying to research a company called Amala Camala, which is, I think, a reference to like these two women in the early 1900s from Bengal that were raised by wolves, but it could also be something else. I don't know. It's just kind of a weird reference to throw in there. I'm pretty sure that Shalia Bull suspects this company of backing the rival battling clan because Anki like accuses him of being the owner of them because they're under new ownership, and then tells him the name of the company, so they decide to look into it. I do like the fact that they say that the company HQ is on an island near an old Federation research facility that did human experimentation, and one of the Zeon guys on the bridge is like, they're crazy. They're the kind of people that would use poison gas. And it's like, hey, you work for Zeon, right? I guess in this timeline, like, it's possible that Zeon never, like, gassed a colony and dropped it on Earth. I don't remember which OVA it was from, where you actually see them, like, put poison gas through a colony's air filtration system, but, yeah, it was pretty fucked up. I guess in this timeline that could have not happened, which that might have been in Stardust memory, which wouldn't have happened at this point anyway, and now won't happen, so I'm sure someone down below will remember. And I'm 100% sure Zeon probably used poison gas somewhere else. We then see a new blonde male character named Lieutenant Gates Kappa, who is spying on the Sodon with some binoculars. He goes to an old rundown beat up building that says Amala Camala on it and reports to the one, the only, the motherfucking Basque Ohm. I could not believe Basque Ohm showed up in this show. The baldest man that's ever been in an anime. And I'm very happy. I knew there would be Zeta references at some point. I'm just really glad to see them. Bascom drops the fact that cyber new types are actually a thing in this continuity, which is really cool. And it really seems like Basque and his subordinates are planning on assassinating Kycilia. It's also important to mention that Kappa has a partner who is a cyber new type girl named Du, who wears a cool mask. And then she drops some weird line where she says she wants to go back to her real body because the body that she's in now is the Psycho Gundam's heart. So apparently we're going to get the Psycho Gundam too, which I'm very excited about. And in a final scene, Nian approaches Machu at a shrine to talk. We don't get to see their conversation, but they're either going to work things out or it's going to be an argument. I guess we're going to find out next episode. Shuji is seen painting over his Kira Kira mural. If that's not symbolism, then I don't know what it is. Xavier is then confronted by two MPs in an alley who draw guns on him, and they're like, yeah, we're just gonna murder you. This will be a warning for Zeon to get the fuck out of here. When fucking Shalia Bull flies down on that belt jetpack thing that they have, that Zeon has, and shoots both guys. It's awesome. I love Shalia Bull so much. So now Xavier, who is a plant that works for Kycilia to spy on Shalia, has had his life saved by this man, and he wonders to himself if it comes down to it, can he actually kill Shalia Bull? And that, I think, is going to be a very big dilemma for this character. Like I said before, I actually really like Xavier's character, and he's just getting more interesting as the episodes go on. And then finally, we see Kycilia without a mask arriving at the colony, and damn does she look great in this show. And that was pretty much my thoughts on this episode. Like I said, I think episode 6 so far has been the peak of the series. I honestly think it's a better episode than episode 2, because episode 2 is mostly fan service for people that love Gundam, and episode 6 is like actually plot relevant. Well, episode 2 is plot relevant, but episode 6 actually moves the plot along further and gives a lot of our characters some characterization, and just the mystery is really starting to come together. And I think next week we're going to get a very explosive episode. So yeah, this was like one of my favorite episodes so far, and it didn't even really have any mech action in it at all. We saw a mech on screen for like a total of 30 seconds. So bravo to the studio for doing that. I'm pretty excited. Let me know down below what you guys thought of this episode. I hope that you liked it as much as I do, and if you didn't, of course, let me know, because differing opinions are fun to read. Anyway, guys, I will see you next week for the next vlog review. If you like this, please make sure to subscribe and do all that other stupid bullshit that YouTube wants me to tell you. Then also go to my channel and watch every single video I've ever made, because I like money. Anyway, I will see you next week. Have a good night.